Hey guys, Marble Tyler here, and today, as the title suggests, I'm going to talk about Halo 5 and basically how the population, in my opinion, has died. Now, I've been playing the game a little bit, been really getting into it lately, just had more time lately, so I've been picking up some video gaming, and I go to play Halo 5, and honestly, there's not as many people playing, and so, in the beginning of Halo 5's lifespan, as always, the game had a ton of players or whatever. They announced that it was the most since Halo 3. I don't think those numbers are true, but they don't release the population numbers. So I'm going to get into that and why I think the game's finally died. We finally hit that point of no return, not enough people playing, and I'll kind of get into that as we go on. Now, that's not to say that you can't play a game at all. I don't want to give that illusion that nobody's playing it anymore, you're never going to be able to find a match. That's not true at all. I've been able to play, a lot of arena games lately. And obviously, if you're playing during gaming prime time, which is going to be from 5 p.m. to 11 p.m., you're set. You're perfect. That's when the people are playing. That's when people get home from work. That's when students are home from school. That's when you're going to be able to get into a game pretty consistently at a pretty fast rate. That's perfect. But for some people, they can't play during that time. I work evenings, so I can't exactly play. I end up playing sometimes around 1 a.m. or so. Other times I'll play in the morning. It just kind of depends on my schedule that day. And when you're going outside of that game time, the player count is just so low. Now, if you're playing the game, the main game modes, for example, we'll say Team Deathmatch, or of course in Halo it's Team Slayer, yeah, you're going to be able to find a match pretty easy. That's the very basic game mode. You go to basically any game, you go to an old Call of Duty, Team Slayer or Team Deathmatch, that's absolutely going to be the one game mode that everyone gets in on. But the issue is, I want to play Warzone. Warzone's not letting me find a match. Sometimes I'll wait like 10-15 minutes before I decide, okay, you know what, I'm moving on, I'm going to go play Slayer, or I'm going to go, Super Fiesta or something like that. I'll go play a different game mode because I can't play the game mode I want to play. And honestly, it's the same thing when you're outside of that, those 5 to 11 p.m. I've tried to get into, what was it? It was Shoddy Snipes. Playing a match of Shoddy Snipers was great, but the issue is because there's so little people playing, I'll try to back out and I'll try to find a new set of players, someone that, a little more towards my skill level, not because I'm bad, but more because I just don't play the game as much. And they're just people that love the game so much, that they're such dedicated, that they just kick everyone to the curb every time. There's 3 specific people. The rest of us were just getting trampled on. That's not to say, I know that's generally just because I'm not as good of a sniper, but it's like that doesn't make it a lot of fun because you can't find people that are balancing because there's not enough people playing. The matches aren't balanced. Now, this isn't exactly Halo 5's fault. I mean, every game has a natural decline. Generally, when a game comes out, that's when it's at its peak. That's when it's having the most players. Generally, I know there are some exceptions. Obviously, Rainbow Six Siege has done the impossible and somehow managed to grow in player base as time's gone on. Same thing with some of the more popular, like Twitch games, or obviously like PUBG and stuff like that. But beyond that, in a general video game, and majority of them, you start with a high amount of player count, and you kind of slowly dip down until you kind of level out, and these are your dedicated fans that are either waiting for the sequel, or they love this one in particular so much that you're always going to have at least a couple hundred people playing. Halo 5 has been out for about 2.5 years. That's been a long time for this kind of game, and it's kind of not the game's fault. It's more of, we've had 2 more falls as well as the one that this one competed in. We've had all kinds of different gaming seasons at this point pass by. We've had Overwatch come out since here. We've had, 2 more Call of Duties. We've had all kinds of stuff, and time's just gone on. Battlefield 1 came out. All these games have come out just to compete with this game. It's gotten to a point where, Halo 5 isn't unique enough, and it doesn't have that strong a player base, and it's done an okay job at player retention, but it's just not strong enough to hold its own anymore, and it's kind of faltered away. And then on top of that, there's no Halo 6 news, so there's no Halo hype, there's no news coming out, there's nothing people are looking forward to, so there's no reason for them to come back and say, oh, Halo 5 is great, and I can't wait to, get ready for Halo 6, or even if they don't like Halo 5, there's no hype for, like, oh, the sequel's coming out. Maybe I should, catch myself up on the last one, or do anything like that, especially if you're new to Xbox since 2015. There's no reason to come back and play Halo 5 because it's just a dead game. There's no hype for the next one because no one said anything, so now we're just waiting for, a new, anything, really. Just any story, any announcement. We're waiting for anything besides Frank O'Connor saying that microtransactions are okay. Because, honestly, is that what we really want to hear about Halo 6? Now, while I do believe it's not the game's, fault, more or less, that the game, kind of died now, it doesn't really have that many players, I do think the game has some issues that caused it to lose player retention. Now, Halo 5 did a great job with the free DLC. Not because it was great DLC. The game should have had stuff in it from the beginning. Infection shouldn't have been excluded. Forge shouldn't have been excluded. All that other stuff should have been in the game. Okay, so I'll say that right off the bat. I don't think the DLC was great, but it did manage to keep players around. And so I do have to commend them for at least trying that. And they did come out with some new stuff. I honestly think the race map, I think it was the Warthog Run or something like that. Hog Wild, something like that. I thought that was a great idea because, yeah, race is a very obscure game mode. It was okay if it wasn't in Halo 5, but the fact that you brought it back, you made it an update, yeah, that's kind of cool. I'm kind of glad that you did something like that. But the rest of the stuff should have been in the game, and that probably declined a little bit of the initial player base because there wasn't enough content to just maintain. Now, because they did these weekly and monthly updates, they did a good job of keeping the people that did, love this game and did want to play this game. They kept them around because you kept adding new stuff, you kept adding more game modes, you kept adding more maps, even though a lot of them were Forge maps, and that's kind of upsetting, or they're remixes, which is why, but, regardless, it's still new stuff, it's still more stuff, and it kept people around, and I thought that was a great thing. What sucks, though, is the progression system. Now, if I'm brand new to Halo 5, it's miserable, because, even if I do manage to get into a match of Warzone, I'm not going to be able to compete because I don't have any loadout weapons, so all my weapons really, really suck. And on top of that, I don't have any rec weapons, so everyone else is walking around, they're flying around with Wasps, or Super Banshees, or Super Ghosts, and Super Tanks, and all these, ridiculously overpowered vehicles, and all these overpowered weapons that, they're kind of balanced, but not really, because the only reason they're balanced is because you also have, 2 overpowered weapons. But if I'm new to the game, I don't have that, and that's just not fair, and it's not fun, and I don't want to keep playing. And truthfully, I had a lot of wrecks, coming back into this. I played a lot when the game came out, and I'm glad I came back into it for a little while. But it's still hard to hold your own when you're not playing against other people. And on top of that, because these things aren't balanced, and because the player base has dropped so low, I can't even get into a Warzone match. I've been playing for a couple weeks again, and I've gotten into maybe 5 matches because it just takes forever. I was surprised the other night I actually, got in pretty fast. I was like, oh, that's awesome. But it was also my day off, so I got to play when I was able to. Or when everyone else was playing, it is. And it's like, I want to play more, but I can't. And on top of that, because I can't use the Rex, as I unlock more stuff, I'm like, oh, this is awesome. Oh, I can't really use it, though. I want to use the Gosshog. I want to use this cool tank and this cool, Super Needler and the Super Sniper and the new energy swords and all this other absurd, clearly not that well balanced, but pretty unique weapons. And it's only sad for me to unlock it to realize I can't use them anyways. And I get the argument, oh, there's Warzone Firefight, and that only takes 8 players, and you can actually get into those matches pretty frequently. But you also hit that point when you're, playing Warzone Firefight where you only want to kill so many Warden Eternals, that is. You don't want to sit there just laying into shot after shot after shot after shot, waiting for the stupid red, mythic boss Warden Eternal to die. And the same thing with, the hunters that are just bullet sponges, and everything in that is just kind of like, oh, kill the same guy by just firing over and over and over until they're dead. And it's like, that's not unique, that's not fun, that's not, that's not like a raid like they're going for. You're not fighting, a boss in Destiny or the Taken King. That's just not enjoyable. And so, because of the progression system, I don't, originally I wanted to sit down, I wanted to unlock everything. I was like, oh yeah, let's do it. Only for there just be so much random stupid stuff, and then the stuff that was really cool, I can't even use. That's not fun, and that's not a great progression system, and so I look at oh, I want to do this, only for the game to push me away, because they're like, well, you can't actually use any of this, and the stuff you really want you can't actually unlock unless you spend money. That's not fun, that doesn't make me want to play. I mean, Halo's my favorite game series. I want to sit down and enjoy it, not, worry about if I need to spend some money to get some gold packs, only to not be able to use half the stuff in the gold packs, Overall, it's just kind of frustrating. I mean, I really enjoyed my time with Halo 5, especially when it came out, when a lot of people were playing, and now I'm coming back to it, and it's a great time, except it's just a little lackluster. There's no one playing. The progression system just still leaves so much to be desired for, and I want all the cool stuff, but I'm not going to spend money, and I do put a lot of time in. I really enjoy it. I've played a lot of games. It's just not what it should be, that's overrated weapons that are, not balanced, and I can't even use them in the game modes you want to play. And given that might be my fault for waiting too long, I get that part. But in terms of the actual population numbers, they can't sustain an actual game and that doesn't look good for, you know, the longevity of a game, because you look at, you know, previous games like Halo 2 and Halo 3, and they had so many players for so long. So the game isn't lasting as long as it should. That's disappointing. It is my favorite game series. I love Halo. But nowadays, when I'm going to come back to Halo, I'm probably just going to skip this. I'll go to the MCC, even though that's, you know, still being fixed. I'm going to go there because I can get some of the classic, true gameplay that I really enjoy. Meanwhile, this just kind of leaves a lot to be desired for. I don't want to see the Wrecks back in Halo 6, and if they are there, I want an actual progression system with the Wrecks. Until then, maybe when Halo 6 is announced, I'll come back. Other than that, I'm moving on to other games. I think Halo 5 is kind of dead for me and for most people. Maybe some point we'll get, you know, Halo 6 and we'll get a resurgence. Until then, check back to STG. We have all kinds of videos coming out. I'm going to do a comparison of the Burnout Remastered to the original. We have more videos coming out. I'm going to do a couple of new series and a couple of new games on the channel. Stay tuned, like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff.